Yeah, they're wishy-washy, you know what I mean? Just like if they called me up tomorrow and said, hey, we changed the status of good, what does that really mean?
Welcome to this episode of Chattin With Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got PeeWee. What's up, PeeWee?
What's up, Billy?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
See him count all that money back there.
Yeah, you remember the days, right?
Yeah.
So one thing I want to talk to you about is you were offered a role on Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. Well, DL is one of the members. He was from Oakland. And me and him were real close at the time. He invited me up to the set. So me and this tattoo artist that I knew from Vegas, he was a member. We took a ride out there in his truck. And we got to the set right there where you seen him in the lot right there. We pulled in that lot, and the clubhouse was inside and everything like that. And we walked in there, we walked around, and we checked it out, you know. And I was sitting at that table that they had. It looked like it was all wood carved, but it was all made of plastic, you know. I was just looking around. I seen some of the actors. We just nodded our heads kind of to each other, and then Kurt Sutter came in there, and he's like, "Oh man, I would love to have you on the show." And he said, "Man, you're the real deal," you know. He says, "You want to do it?" He said, "Man, I'll take care of you and all this stuff." And I said, "Man, I can't do it right now because I was going through a criminal case, you know, myself." And you know yourself, Billy, if you're, even if I was on that TV show, people watching it believe what they see.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, if I'm on that TV show, we're running around counting money, guns, drugs, that's in there. It's installed in their heads. I couldn't take a chance of a juror or somebody because I was taking it right all the way. You know, I was fighting it all the way. And I just thought my chances would be screwed if I had one person on that jury see me on that show and then say, "Oh, yeah, that's that guy, you know, that was on that other biker show." And they believe that crap. So
yeah,
I declined, and I told them, "Hey, listen, if I win my case and I'm free, I'll come back and I'll seriously think about it." But I got to be honest with you, I did not really watch it. You know, I didn't watch it. I wasn't like a diehard, "Oh God, I gotta, you know, record a series." And so
you were living it.
Yeah, I was living it, man. That was like, you know, watching some of the episodes that I did see of it. Whew, it was so far fetched, you know. I mean, these guys riding around, shooting people on the motorcycles, blasting away everything they did on the bikes with their patches on and stuff. And I don't know, it just wasn't really the way we did things, you know. But it was a TV show, and that's what it was, you know.
Do you think it kind of hurt the reputation of motorcycle clubs with a show like this?
No, I think, seriously, I think it encouraged people, you know. I mean, look how many idiots you've seen riding around with the Sons of Anarchy shirts on everywhere. Man, it was crazy, you know. So I think a lot of people got into it. I don't know if they got into that other show, the Mayans, whatever it was. That's another one I didn't really watch it. I think that some of the characters that played in there, like I didn't get to meet all of them, you know. DL took me over to Charlie's trailer, and I got to meet Charlie, the guy who played Jax, and I got to play. That's my boy right there.
Yeah, so you had your patch on when you went there.
No, actually, I had a T-shirt on. That picture taken right there with Charlie was in Cave Creek, Arizona. We were at a party, and Sonny and everybody from Cave Creek was there, and Charlie was there, and Kurt Sutter was there, and the Mexican kid with the tattoo on the side of his head that plays on the show. I don't know his name offhand. And Katie Segal, she was there. Really, I said hi to Kurt, shook his hand, and then I just went over and sat down by a bunch of Hell's Angels. We were just sitting there. Everybody was going up to Charlie, taking pictures with them, and they go, "Hey, Pee-wee, aren't you going to go over there and take a picture with Jax?" And I said, "Nah, not because I thought I was too cool for school, but man, I hate to say this, but in the popularity thing, man, everywhere I went because of my size and because I was a Hell's Angel, people constantly want their pictures with me. And it would never fail, Billy, every time in Sturgis, one person would come up, "Hey, man, do you mind taking a picture with my wife?" And the husband wants to take the picture. So I'll put my arm around her. He'll take the picture. By the time I take my arm off of her from around her back, there's already 5, 6 more people lined up. Hey, can I get one? All right. I never wanted to be that dickhead, man, that said, "No, beat it." That wasn't me, bro.
Yeah.
So, okay, I put my arm around, do another one. Next thing I look, man, I got like 20, 30 people. I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah.
And the funny part is somebody said to me, one of the members, and it's not always about the money, so it wasn't about no money for me. I don't know why I felt like kind of an asshole after I did it. But one of the members said, "Why don't you start charging these people for photos, man? And then, you can start making some money." And it wasn't really in me. And that's why I said I feel like an asshole about doing it. I thought, okay, I'll just shoot it out there because I really was getting burnt out on taking pictures. I can't tell you the hundreds of pictures I took. And I said to this guy, he said, "Hey, do you mind if I get a picture with you?" And I said, "Yeah, man." I said, "Just throw me a couple bucks." I didn't even put a price on it. I said, "Just throw me a couple bucks. We'll take a picture, man." And it wasn't about the money, even with the people. So here's what he says: "I'll buy you a drink." I'm not really a big drinker,
Yeah.
So I knew what the guys at the table were drinking. So I just ordered a drink, and these guys were drinking for free till after about 20 drinks were on the table, and all the ice was melting in the glasses, and the whole table was wet. The drinks were the ice cubes melted in it. They're all diluted. It probably would have been a couple $100 in my pocket, but people more or less want to just buy me a drink to get that photo. And if I'm lying, I'm dying, bro, and you probably seen it. People post constantly on Facebook, on Instagram, that photo of me and that blonde-haired girl. That thing was 25 years ago. And that was in Spokane, Washington. Her husband walked up to me and said, "Can I take a photo of you and my wife?" I put my arm around her. I get, "Hey, man, I saw a picture of you and your ex-wife on the internet." That's not my ex-wife. I don't even know her name. I took a picture with a young lady, and that was it. And I also seen it on, trying to think, on YouTube, what Hell's Angels expect of their women. And they use me and her. It's like,
so they're putting it out of context.
Yeah, it's funny, they put all this all this hate out there. "Oh, Pee-wee was a rat and shit." Then we find out that I wasn't a rat, and I never did rat on anybody. They never said, "Hey, sorry for calling you a rat" or anything. But now now you see on Facebook and everything with Rick, and Rick does his homework. He really does, man. So he put it out there, Sonny ratted and testified. But that's water over the dam, bro. I mean, I already told you about the time, the other member from Canada testified on me. And everybody's got that quick, Pee-wee did this, Pee-wee did that. But tell you one thing Pee-wee didn't do is ever take the stand.
Yeah, yeah.
Testify or give anybody's name up, I'll tell you what, that's what PeeWee did. I just stuck to the basics, took care of business, and ran my charter.
And you don't know who's in these pictures. They could be someone who cooperated. It could be law enforcement.
Right?
Have you ever seen anyone get in trouble because of pictures?
Yeah. Well, I think it. I'm not for sure. This is just a little, a little gossip here and there. I hear from people telling me shit. Just like when they, after 20 years of Chuck Zito being out of the club, they put him out bad for something I guess they told him not to do. Now, this is where I say the hearsay. They told, from what I heard, they told him, hey, don't do this. What it is, I don't know if it was a documentary, a clip he did. I don't know. I really don't. I don't really give a shit.
Someone commented and said, ha, PeeWee is going to be upset that Chuck Zito's not out bad now. I just seen that comment.
Yeah, because I really don't care. You know what I mean? If he's out bad or good, I don't talk to him either way. He lives his life, I live mine, but he's got them up his ass, and that's what he likes. So I'm sure when they put him out bad, like I said, he was looking someplace to string a rope up over the, rafters. And so, but now he's good again, so he should be all tiptoeing through the tulips, running around being happy.
But why would you want to be involved with something? They put you out bad, and then they take you back. Why would you even want to be around people like that? Is my question.
They're wishy-washy, you know what I mean? Just like if they called me up tomorrow and said, hey, we changed your status to good, what does that really mean? Don't mean shit. Doesn't mean that they're going to invite me to the clubhouse for a drink or anything, because that don't happen, Staxx. They don't. I've said this before on other interviews. They don't ever invite members who leave in good. Like if you left in good, and hey, Billy, man, why don't you stop down once in a while, man? Don't be such a stranger, Stop down, have a drink with us, or stop by and say hi.
They do it with Chuck Zito because he has a big following, reputation, and so
I don't think they do, Billy. I think he imposes himself on them. He's the one that goes looking where they're at, and he tries to be a part of that every chance he gets. I don't see any of them calling him up. Hey, come hang out with us, man. Yeah. No, I really don't. I really don't.
I want to ask you about patches. People getting their patch taken either from another club or the police. What's the protocol? And have you seen this before, where someone has gotten their patch taken from someone else?
Oh yeah, I've seen patches taken. It's really a messed up thing, because if we were both in two different clubs, you and me, Bill, and we were fighting, and I took your patch, technically, if the cops get involved, I could be charged with strong arm robbery, because just like taking a suit off of you or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That patch is a piece of your clothing, your property, you own it. If they take that patch, you could be charged with strong arm robbery. I think that was frowned on a lot by the club. It really was. They really didn't like you doing that. And it was like they had this shit bill that they called like putting your patch in a box. It was the most stupid, idiotic thing I've ever heard of. I didn't do it in my charter. So if you messed up as a Hell's Angel, instead of just reprimanding, you're taking you outside and whipping your ass in the backyard, they would take your patch and put it in a box, and then you're basically like busted down the prospect, even though you may have a shitload of Hell's Angel tattoos on you. You can't ride your bike with a death head on it. Why you got your patch in a box? Stupid. You know what I mean? And what lesson is that really teaching you?
Yeah,
it's not really teaching you a lesson, bro.
No.
But those other clubs, they it's an honor to these other clubs for stealing a Hell's Angel patch,
So what happens if someone steals a Hell's Angel patch? And can you walk me through when someone got their patch taken? Because don't they hang them on the wall for like a trophy and things upside down
Upside
or
down.
something?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I went to a party in Massachusetts where some shit just went down, and we were having an anniversary party at this one charter. And one of the guys walked in and said, "Hey, we just got this." And it was an outlaw patch, you know, and they hung it upside down in there. And I didn't give a shit either way, you know what I mean? I was thinking in my head, you know, I thought we didn't do that kind of shit, but I didn't care one way or the other, to be honest with you. You know, it's funny. I see in the background your pictures flashing. And I see that big the picture coming up right now. Wait a minute, it'll be a picture of the big group.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. That group. That was 94. That was a USA run at San Francisco. And I was a prospect for Minnesota. And I was standing right behind helping take those photos on that picture right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have a long history in this club. Like, you made your mark in the club.
I felt that I did, you know what I mean? They can be haters all they want, but I did make my mark in there. For them, the way they did me dirty, it wasn't cool, you know? It's you know, it's like knocking a chip off my shoulder. I don't give a shit either way. But
so how do you feel? What's your relief level from when you were in it to where you are now? Like, would you do it all again?
I enjoyed being a Hell's Angel. I would say, yeah. I would have done that all over again. I wish I would have done it when I was younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I did put in my time, and you know, and I was glad I was one. I traveled the world, got a lot of doors open for me that probably wouldn't have been, you know, as a Hell's Angel. Bodyguard, even though I'm a big man, people ask me anyway. I got most of my bodyguard jobs after I was out of the club. But I think it was the point that the people who asked me to be their bodyguards knew I was one at one time, you know?
Yeah.
But basically, it just boiled down to the way I handled myself and the way I could bodyguard somebody, you know?
What are some of the people you bodyguarded for?
Ron White, John DeJorian, that owns John Paul Mitchell Hair Products. He owns Patron too. He just sold that. John is a great guy, bro. You couldn't ask for a better friend. And he was sitting in a restaurant in Sturgis, or actually in Spearfish, South Dakota, which is like, I don't know, 20 miles from Sturgis. And I walked into a really nice, fancy restaurant that they had there by myself. Sometimes I had to just get away from the shop, you know, my shop I was running. Mm-hmm. And I went in there to eat, and I sat down there, and I think I had my patch on, and I sat there to eat. He was downstairs, and I went up to a balcony seat. That's where he sat me. And he was with, oh man, I'm trying to think his name. I'm going a little brain dead right now. Lamas. Remember the guy who played on the TV show Renegade?
Yeah.
What was his name? Something started with an R. Something. Lamas. That's who John Paul was sitting with. John DeJorian. They call him JP. I call him. And he walked up to me and introduced himself, shook my hand, told me that the Hells Angels helped him out way back, like in the 60s.
Lorenzo Lamas.
Yeah. Lorenzo Lamas, that's it. And that's it. He introduced me to that guy, and I shook his hand. I remember him from the TV series. And he said that the Hells Angels helped him when he was sleeping out of his car, and he said he was eating out of dumpsters. He had no money. His wife took off. He had one child, you know, and he was living out of a car. And what a rags the riches story, you know what I mean? Here he meets this other guy, Mitchell, the guy that, see, his name is John DeJorian, right? But his name is John Paul DeJorian. So The Mitchell guy came in and they started doing the hair thing together. And then Mitchell got cancer and he died. So it ended up being John Paul Mitchell's, and he always kept Mitchell's name in there, you know.
Yeah.
And he has the schools and stuff like that. Then he started Patron. I think he sold that for like, I think it was like $2.1 billion. He sold that.
Wow.
Yeah, Patron tequila for. John's just a great guy. Like I told you, he's helped me out so much. I can't thank the guy enough, bro. When I went to prison, he went over and gave my wife at that time, Dale, he gave her a check for $10,000. I mean, who does that?
No.
If he called me up right now and said, PeeWee, how much you charge me to do a bodyguard? I would never charge that guy the rest of my life. I would just go do the bodyguarding for him, because in my heart, I feel I owe him that.
So when you were doing these bodyguard situations, did you ever have a situation where things got out of control?
No, not really.
We had to crack some heads.
No, with John, it was pretty cool. He told me, he said, hey, you know, when it gets real hairy and people start like congregating around them, he said, when I go like this, I take my hand and I go like that with my ponytail. He said, that's the cue for you to get me out of there. So when he'd go like this with his ponytail and pull his ponytail, I'd step in and say, come on, John, we got to go. You got another appointment. And he's like, sorry, folks, sorry, you know, and they're like, oh, you know, everybody wants a picture with him. And I pull him away like, you know, like the heathen, you know, and come on, you're going. And then as we walk away, he pats me on the back, says, thanks, you know.
But you're big enough to like keep the people back.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, if it came down to it, like I said, when I'm bodyguarding somebody, I can't carry a weapon because I'm a felon, but I got a couple of weapons right here. You know, they've been working for me all my life. So,
was there any situations when you were bodyguarding for anybody that happened?
Oh, I'm trying to think. The first guy I ever bodyguarded was Matt Dillon. You remember him?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't see him anymore, but he was just a great guy. And he was in Minnesota doing a movie called Beautiful Girls. And this was 1994. Chuck Zito actually was bodyguarding him because he was doing a lot of bodyguarding, Chuck was.
Yeah.
And Chuck was bodyguarding, but Chuck had to leave and go somewhere. And I was prospecting, and he said, hey, PeeWee, keep an eye on this guy. Watch out for him. And I said, all right. So it was about no money. I was a prospect at the time, and I just went over and bodyguarded him.
Did you wear your patch when you were bodyguarded? Did you wear your patch when you were bodyguarded? Your prospect patch?
I'm trying to think. You know, I can't remember if I did or not. I think I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't think I did, because they frowned on that a little bit. I think I was just wearing a regular like hoodie or something like that, because it was winter time. He had a long cashmere black jacket on with a nice dress shirt with a collar like this, you know, and he's a good looking dude, man, you know, and the chicks were like going wild over him, not only because he was an actor, he's a good looking dude, and he was very outspoken, you know. I mean, he wasn't real shy or anything, but he was just a cool dude, man. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. We walked in this place on a corner of Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis. I think it's called, I think it's called, believe it or not, like, I know the name keeps popping in my head because of the movie, but I thought the place was called Schindler's, or it was called something close to that, what it was, but it was a bookstore, and it carried newspapers from all around the world and everything. It was a famous bookstore. I mean, if they didn't have it, you were never going to find it. So we walk by there, and Matt says, hey, I'm going to go in there and get a Wall Street Journal. And I said, all right. So we walk in there, and we get it. And, bro, I mean, this was so, like, nonchalant. He gets the paper. We turn around as we're walking out the door, coming across the street, you know, just crossing traffic. And he just walks right by us. And I mean, It was just so nonchalant. It was what's his name? Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Keanu Reeves. And he walks right by and he goes, "Hey, Matt." Matt goes, "Hey, Keanu, what's up?" Just like that. You know, and I was like, "Hey, Matt, that's Keanu Reeves." And he goes, "Yeah." He must have been shooting a movie there too, you know, because he wasn't in Matt's movie. He was there shooting a movie too. Minneapolis, they shoot a lot of movies there. You know, like the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. They did the Kitty Garden. That one, you know, Kitty Garden teacher or whatever the hell it was. So they did a lot of movies there. I'll never forget this, Bill. We walk into the Skyway Show Lounge. It was a strip club right on Hennepin Avenue where I used to be a bouncer. And we walk in there, we walk through the front door, and this stripper's walking out with her boyfriend. They're holding hands. And we walk in and she sees Matt. And she's like, "Oh my God, you are so gorgeous." This is what she tells him. "You are so gorgeous. Oh my God, you're so handsome. I can't believe it. I love your movies. I love you." Now, you know, come on, bro. If that was you standing there and me, or, you know, with your chick, you're holding her hand, you'd be like, "Are you serious?
I'd be like, go with him."
Yeah, you're doing this right in front of me? So she says, when she said these words, this was the end. She goes, "Oh my God, if I was with you, the things I would do to you." And he jerks her arm and he goes, "Let's go." And he pulls her out the door. And I kind of looked as he went out the door and real nonchalant. I looked back at Matt and I said, "Wow, I bet you get that all the time." And he goes, "Yeah, I pump up the tires, but he gets to ride the bike." And I never forgot that saying, bro. That was pretty good. But, you know, he wasn't a big drinker. We went in there. He was drinking orange juice. I can't think of his name. His name is Max something. He's another actor. He's a little dude that played in the movie Drugstore Cowboy with Matt. And they did that movie, Drugstore Cowboy. And he was a little guy at the end that kills Matt, you know, for some dope. He says, "Hey," I think his name was Baby. They call him Baby something in that movie. But those two are friends in real life. And he was in the movie that Matt was shooting, Beautiful Girls.
Yeah.
And he was in the bar while we walked in. He was just sitting there.
Max Perlich.
Yeah, Max Perlich. And he was sitting in the bar, but he wasn't as well known as Matt Dillon. So people really didn't go, "Hey, man, I know you." But when we walked in, we sat down with him. Then everybody recognized who he was.
Yeah.
But as for me getting involved in any fist fights or anything, you know, I can honestly say I've never ran into that. We did a bodyguard job. Me and One Kick Nick, we did a bodyguard job together for Flow Rider when they were doing a show for us called Tough Customers. Nobody picked the show up, so we lost out on that. But
One Kick Nick, why'd they call him that?
I'm going to say it just the way he says it. One kick, you're gone. You know, he trains a lot of fighters. He's got a gym. It's called One Kick Nick's Gym in Vegas. And yeah, he's a tough guy. He's a black belt. You know, he trains these guys. He has so many UFC fighters. It's unbelievable. And he's in really good shape. And he's close to my age, you know. But he hangs in there. He's a good guy. He's a good friend of mine. He's solid. I love him to death. And you know, we talk all the time. Yeah, they gave him that name, One Kick. He's got a little patch and everything on it. You know, it says One Kick Nick. We bodyguarded Flow Rider, and then we bodyguarded this rich guy from Panama that came over to look for like high dollar cars, Maseratis, you know, Porsches. And we took him to his place, and nothing was on script, Billy. Everything was pro bono. You know, I mean, we did it all. Just say what you got to say. And when he looks at us and he goes, "Hey, man, thanks. I appreciate you guys looking out for me, watching my back." And I looked at him. I said, "We got your back here in Vegas." You know, I mean, like anything we said, it was, you know, just free, whatever you want to say. But it was cool. We were walking in and the cameras with Flow Rider were like right there. And they used that on the A&E show where I put my hand on the camera and I go, get out of here. I'm wearing a suit. I always wear a suit. I got to wear a suit when I'm bouncing. You know what I mean? And I bounced I bounced for a guy. I bodyguard him. I bodyguard for him. His name was James Frey. You ever hear of him?
I've heard of him.
He's an author, and he was famous, believe this, for getting kicked off the Oprah Winfrey show. Swear to God. He wrote a book, which was a bestseller, called A Million Little Pieces.
I've heard of that book.
Right. And it's about a heroin addict living on the streets and stuff. But Jim wrote the book about a fictitious character. But Oprah and everybody thought it was about him. So when he came on the show, she's saying, how did you cope with life? You know, coming from there, how'd you clean yourself up? And he said, what are you talking about? It's not about me. I made that person up. Holy mackerel, bro. She flipped out. I thought the book was about you. You know, he was in her book of the month bestseller, you know.
Yeah.
She said, get off of my show right now. She booted him off the show. And would you believe this? He got death threats from people over a book. A book, bro. So here's how I meet him. He is at the Bernard Hopkins fight, you know, at the Mandolin Bay. Bernard Hopkins was fighting. I don't remember who he was fighting, but he was fighting. And I told you I worked for the movie industry. Mm-hmm. So we were shooting a movie called Rocky Balboa with Sylvester Stallone. So they used the Bernard Hopkins crowd for the Rocky crowd. They had a guy come in, you know, with the robe on over his head. You know, the people thought that was Sylvester Stallone, but it wasn't. They weren't going to stick him out in all those, you know, in case somebody tried to attack him. So when he came out with that, you know, that robe that he wears with the shamrock meat on the back, he came out, he's bouncing around, you know, he's got his hands up. And they told the crowd, hey, you're all going to be in a movie. Everybody just shout, Rocky, Rocky. So the whole crowd's, Rocky, Rocky. You know. It was pretty cool. But anyway, getting back how I met Jim Frey, I'm standing outside in the back where the back doors are to the auditorium. And we could not go in there because, you know, I was a driver. I was a teamster on the set. So we got to stay outside. So he comes out with an actor that everybody knows now, but I mean, everybody probably didn't know about him then. I remember a couple movies he was in. Cole Hauser comes walking out with Jim Frey. They're having a cigarette because you can't smoke in there, so they came out to smoke. And Cole Hauser, as you know it, now he's on the TV show Yellowstone, who everybody watches. He's Rip. That's Rip.
Yeah.
So I came up to him and, you know, James Frey sees me and I got a bit, you know, like on my shirt right here, it said Hell's Angels on my shirt. And he saw me and he goes, hey, are you really a Hell's Angel? And I said, yeah. He goes, I'm writing a book and a movie script about you guys. I didn't know anything about it. So I just went, oh, okay. He said, yeah, man, glad to meet you. I'm James Frey. And I shook his hand. He goes, this is Cole Hauser. And I go, oh, I remember you from that movie Dazed and Confused when he was real young.
Yeah.
When he was in that movie. And then I says, I remember you were in the movie Pazzarotti, whatever it is. You know, the camera guys.
Yeah, paparazzi.
Yeah, paparazzi.
Yeah.
I can't talk. And I remember him in that movie. And he goes, oh, yeah, thanks. But now he's, everybody knows the name, you know, Rip. Rip is the baddest dude on the show, you know.
Yeah.
James Frey says, hey, you do any bodyguarding? And I go, yeah. And I got cards, and I handed him one of my cards. And he called me up, and he said, hey, and I was working another movie when he called me. And he said, hey, can you come out to New York? That's where he lived. New York. I'm going on a book tour, like 13 cities. And he said, let me know how much you want. I'll get the book company to pay you. And I said, man, I'm doing this other movie right now, James. I can't start off in New York because he went from New York to, I want to say, I'm not positive of this, but I think from New York to Jersey, and from Jersey he went to San Francisco. Me being the brother I am, I called up a member from New York who I love dearly. I still do. I don't know, what I mean, what his feelings are for me anymore.
Is he still a member?
Yes, he's still a member.
Yeah.
I stood up for his wedding. I handed his wife, I walked her down, handed her to him. Yeah. So I'll be in his movie, his wedding video, as much as every time he watches it. If he hates my guts, well, he's going to have to like being like his best man. But no, I love him. His name is Bart. I turned him on to the job. And he got paid well for it, and he told me, thanks, bro. He was always a hustler. He has a good job, you know what I mean? He does real serious work, like in the tunnels and stuff down there in New York. But anyway, I hooked him up with that job in the beginning. Then I said, I'll take over the last 8. So he did like 3 or 4 cities. And then I said I would jump in. It was funny. He calls me up and he said, James Frey, and he says, what are you going to charge me for daily rate? Now, I called one kick up and I said, man, what should I charge, you think? And he said, well, I usually charge, like, I seen him on a set. We did a Nike commercial at Lake of Las Vegas with Tiger Woods. One kick was out there for Tiger Woods' bodyguard. And he said, I charge him $800 a day, plus, all meals and everything else like that. And I said, oh, okay. I said, all right, I guess that's what I'll ask him for,
Yeah.
So I called James up and I said, hey, man, I got a figure. And he goes, well, before you say anything, I just want to tell you, the book company said that they're not going to pay any more than $1,000 a day. And I said, well, you know what? I said, that's weird because that's just what I was going to ask you for.
Yeah,
Hey, bro.
Perfect.
Hey, bro. Yeah, it was perfect, man. So, what was cool about it was all our transportation was first class. We got off, the guy standing there with the little sign at the airport, Fry, we get in a limo. Oh, yeah, man, it was Uber Black, with the Suburbans with the tinted windows. Bro, we always had the best of everything. Man, we stayed at 5-star hotels, where he told me, hey, PeeWee, anything you want, room service, whatever. It's all on the bill. It's all on the publishing company. I would just go there and stand because he got death threats. Somebody said, hey, when you come, I think it was pretty much Portland, Oregon, that he got this threat that somebody's going to shoot him. So I just stood right there by the podium with him, in case I saw somebody. And I take my job serious, bro. Even though it might have been $1,000 a day. What's the point of being a bodyguard if you're not a bodyguard, So I stand right next to James. I see somebody come out pointing a gun. I'm going to jump in front of him, bro. I would have picked a podium up and held it for a bullet shield,
Yeah, it's your job. You got to.
That's my job. That's what it is. I took it serious as a job, and I did it well. It was funny because even though I know the club frowned on it, but when I got in the club, it was like I said, I made the patch didn't make me. And I did whatever the fuck I wanted. And they were all probably, hey, you can't pimp the patch. You can't wear it. Yeah, I was a Hell's Angel. I'm going to wear my patch. I didn't give a shit. I wore it. Or I wore T-shirts,
Yeah.
But usually I wore T-shirts. But it had the big logo on it. And people were coming up to me as I was standing there as his bodyguard going, can I get a picture with you? So James even turned to me and says, man, dude, you get more pictures than me. But we had a good time, bro. So we did 7 shows. And I mean, it was one day after the next, man. Next day, we're on a plane going somewhere else. San Antonio, Grand Rapids, Oregon, Seattle, Washington. Oh, bro, I'm trying to think of all of them. Anyway, it was out of the 8. We had one more to go to, and I forget where it was, but we did 7 of them. He came up to me and he handed me the envelope and he goes, "Here, I'm just going to pay your money now, PeeWee." And I look at her and I go, "Well, there's $8,000 in here. You just wait till we do the next show." He goes, "I'm not doing the last show, but I'm paying you for it." And I said, "Why?" And it was pretty sad. You know, he said, my son's real sick. He had a 3-year-old, I think it was, back in New York. So he goes, "I got to cut this short. And I got to get home, man. And I make sure you get home." So I got on one flight to go back to Vegas. He got on another flight to go back to New York. So, you know, I mean, we became like we bonded a little friendship there, you know, and I like the guy. I still do like him. I hit him up and I said, "Hey, how's your baby doing? And are you know, is he okay and stuff?" And he said, "No, he passed," you know, and it was pretty sad. You know, he lost his kid. And I said, "I'm so sorry, James, to hear that." I said, "If you're ever in Vegas, man, just call me and we'll go out to eat." He goes, "Oh, come in. I'll take you and your wife out to eat and we'll get together, PeeWee." And I said, "All right." And really, that was the last thing we ever said to each other. I never heard from him again. But I have looked him up on the internet. Shit, he's wrote about 50 books already. But he'll always, like he said, he'll always be famous for getting kicked off Oprah Winfrey show. Not many do that. See somebody go, "Get out of here." Unless it was like Jerry Springer or something.
Yeah, and you get famous for it.
Yeah, right.
Well, nowadays you could the girl like that Hawk 2 girl, she gets famous over spitting on something, right?
Right. Can you believe that?
Wild. Do you miss Vegas?
No, I really don't. It's changed so much, Billy, from the time I got there. When I used to go there all the time, this is funny. I told this friend of mine from Milwaukee that I grew up, I've known him like more than half his life. He was with me one time in Vegas, and this is what I said to him. And I just talked to him about 3 weeks ago. And he goes, "You know one thing about you, Chuck?" He goes, "You say something and you do it." And that's the kind of man I am. I said to him one time, standing down on Fremont Street, "Man, I'm going to become a Hell's Angel, man, and I'm going to come here and start a charter." I swear to God. I said that back in the late 80s. And because I always, you know, I never even knew a Hell's Angel at the time, but, you know, I was in my mind, I was like, "Dad, those guys are cool. That's what I want to be."
But they had a charter in Arizona, right? Just not in Vegas?
Not in Vegas. And they had one up in Reno. But those guys really didn't go or represent anything, you know.
You had a little run-in with Jay Dobbins, right?
Yeah, a very short one.
So a lot of people, there's a bunch of controversy whether he got his patch or he didn't get his patch.
He never got his patch, bro. He even admits it on the one show that he did on A&E. He said, "I never made member." See, a member left his patch hanging on a hook in the clubhouse, which I don't know why he would do that, but they must have felt comfortable and he left it hanging there. And when Jay Dobbins and his butt buddy that was with him doing the same undercover work, I guess when those two were done having sex with each other, they threw on, you know, they threw that patch on to make it look like he was in a club, but he was never in a club.
That fake Mongol killing, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, bro, I had a guy in my charter do that same thing to me.
What happened?
Yeah. My vice president, George, yeah, he did the same thing. Came over with a tarp rolled up in the back of a truck, all bloodied up, saying, "Hey, that's one of those guys, you know, supposedly was a Mongol." I didn't look, bro. It was 2:00 in the morning. I walked out and I go, "What the fuck are you bringing that to my house for?" And, you know, he was like, "Oh, hey, man, I did this dirty deed." I said, "Get the fuck out of here, man. Well, I'm going to take him." I said, "Don't tell me. I don't want to know anything about it." And personally, honestly, Billy, I never believed him. I never believed that could have been a dog wrapped up in that tarp. I don't give a shit. There was blood on it. Could have been pig's blood, whatever. I didn't believe none of it because I went past the house where that guy supposedly lived and I sat down the street and watched it. And all them guys came out drinking beers, eating hot dogs, cooking on the grill. Does that seem right to you after one of the guys is missing?
No.
Nah.
They're going to be on high alert. Things are going to be.
Bingo.
Yeah.
See, you think the same way I do. So when I watched that, I already knew it was bullshit. You know.
You think they were working with law enforcement trying to set
Who?
you up? The guy that brung the tarp.
Oh yeah, he was the whole time.
You found out?
Yeah, I had a private investigator tell me after the wedding chapel fight. My lawyer called this guy in to interview all the witnesses. When he was sitting there, he said, you know, you got a full patch member. I already quit. I was already out of the club. He said, you know, you got a full patch member in the club. He was telling everything. He was wearing wires at the meetings, everything. Like, are you kidding me? He goes, no, his job through intelligence that I've heard, because he was a Metro cop for 25 years, the private investigator. Yeah. So he still knew a lot of the cops, you know. He said that George's job was to get rid of me, discredit me, make me look bad, and never to come back to the club again, which he pretty much did. I mean, did his job, you know, for being a rat.
Going around spreading rumors about you and shit.
Oh, right? Yeah. He told me, he goes, bro, I go all the OMs and I speak up for you. He was going to all the OMs talking dirt, saying shit. He actually convinced, this is what puppets most of the club guys are. They're such puppets that you can play the strings with those guys so easy, you know? Hey, that guy's a rat. Oh, shit, look out. No paperwork, no nothing. So George goes around saying, hey, listen to this CD we got on PeeWee with me talking to the cop. And I was just fucking basically rapid to get my way out of it until he told me it was all on video. But I didn't give up no names. I didn't give up no situations or what anything was doing. And George is telling him, listen to him, man. Ratting on these people. And when he played it for me, I had two other members that never heard it sitting next to me. And when it was over, they looked at me and said, I didn't hear you rat on nobody. I said, neither did I. So I said, what the fuck's the point of this CD? Oh, come on, man. You know what you said. Yeah, I just heard it. Nowhere in that video or in that recording did I say anybody's name or what anybody did. The shit that people are hearing about is stuff I try to say as a upscale leader to clear things up, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, we had this kid in the club. I told you about him before. The kid Brandon. The guy was a pussy anyway, you know what I mean? But when he was with us, you know, he got all puffy and stuck his chest out, and he liked messing with the green guys, you know, the Vagos.
Yeah.
And they didn't like him, he didn't like them, but I mean, he was nothing. They could have kicked his ass anytime they run it, probably. He was just a young punk acting out like, you know, he was some big tough guy. And I didn't say all that shit to the cops. All I said to them was, they're like, well, we didn't know you guys were warring with the green guys, the Vagos. I said, we're not. I said, you guys imagine all this stuff. You make, you know, more shit up as it goes along, and you make it worse than what it is. All that is a kid pumped up because he's proud of who he is. And, you know, those other guys pump up, they're proud of who they are. But that's all it is. We're not at war with them. Nobody's fighting. Nobody's shooting bullets. None of that shit. Well, now they are. You know what I mean? Now
so
they are.
That's another thing I wanted to talk to you about is there was a shooting with some Hells Angels shooting at some Vagos. And they used your picture for the news article. Here, I'll play the video and you can check it out.
Confrontation between Hells Angels bikers and...
Bam! That's you right there.
Yeah, that's at the drag strip. We know the shooting didn't happen there. You know?
So for them to use this video, how wild is that for them to use this picture?
Well, why not? I was the most popular guy there. That's why they were using it. I mean, Rick, the guy who shot him, Rick who? You know?
Crazy. Look, watch this.
They're shooting. They're shooting.
Newly released cell phone footage shows part of the confrontation between Hells Angels bikers and rival Vagos Motorcycle Club last month on a Henderson highway. A witness in a car behind the Vagos bikers pulled out her cell phone and began recording when she realized a smaller group of Hells Angels members speed past her.
Hells Angels just shot at Vagos. There's 2 down.
In a 911 phone call, the witness told police dispatchers she had seen the Hells Angels stopped in an emergency exit lane moments earlier, appearing to be waiting for the Vagos motorcyclists to drive by. Identified members of the Hells Angels from the shooting were later seen on security camera footage at a Henderson Harley-Davidson location, parking bikes in a garage after the shooting. Those members identified as 46-year-old Stephen Allo and 66-year-old Richard DeVries. Prosecutors say the gunfire may have been an act of retaliation for a San Bernardino, California shooting that left a Hells Angel member dead, although a Vagos member challenged the claim during the grand jury hearing. 3 men have been indicted on the Henderson shooting on 36 felony counts on conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder, among other charges. For the Las Vegas Review-Journal, I'm James Schaefer.
So what do you think of that? Do you know them members?
Yeah, that Rick guy. Rick, the 66-year-old guy
with the white hair.
I brought him from Massachusetts to Las Vegas. He lived with me. Yeah, he had nowhere to go. I gave him a place to live. He lived with me. I took care of that dude, man. And then actually, when I split the charters, when I went to Sin City, I started Sin City from Vegas. I wanted actually, there was nobody else I wanted to take with me, but I was going to take Rick on my side, but I thought it was better if I left Rick there because he could become the president and take over because they had such morons in that charter that nobody else could really lead them. But obviously Rick can't even fucking lead them, That was the most stupidest shit I've ever. Right there, bro. They should be wearing Sons of Anarchy jackets, really.
They're playing like they're the movie, right? They're waiting at an
TV
exit.
It's a TV show, bro.
Yeah, the TV show. Like they're sitting at an exit waiting for them to pass. Like that sounds like a movie type shit.
Yeah.
You were well out of the club by the time this happened, right?
Oh, yeah. I was already living where I am now, and yeah, I went back, Billy, for my daughter's wedding. It was last November. Yeah. I walked her down the aisle and stuff, and
no situations happened during that one. That wedding.
Yeah, they did. Swear to God. Yeah, I jinxed it, bro. I jinxed it. I'll tell you how. I'll tell you in a minute. I went back there, and Vegas is so dirty and so filthy compared to the way it was 20 years ago when I was going there. I mean, when we pull out of the casino, and we took a left on Ogden, we drove up to Las Vegas Boulevard, the main boulevard. 11 o'clock in the afternoon, broad daylight. There's a guy standing with his pants pulled down, taking his shit on the sidewalk. I'm like, what the hell? And then the next day we're driving around, and this girl's got her pants pulled out. She's taking a piss in some dirt, when we drive by. I mean, broad daylight. And the very last day after the wedding, we were headed back to the casino, and there was a girl with her dress hiked up, taking a shit on the sidewalk, right on the corner of our casino.
They just don't care.
That was in 1 week, bro. 1 week. I seen all that. That was enough for me. So I'm wearing a tuxedo, right? I'm in a tux. On the A&E interview, I said, yeah, I got a wedding coming up. My daughter's next. Let's hope, no Mongols show up at that one. So we get done. The wedding goes off. We had it over by, my buddy's place, the Italian place. And I didn't think it would go off there anyway. But after we left, and I told you, I got, that first eye view of that chick taking a shit. And then we pulled into the hotel. We got out. I wasn't really tired and ready to go to bed, even though I was in a tuxedo yet.
Yeah.
I have a good friend of mine that's a bouncer across the street at a club called Hogs and Heifers. They don't allow any patches, any colors, support shirts, anything in there. And his name is Jeremy. He's a big dude. He's big as me. You know, he's got a big, giant, long beard, big Grizzly Adam beard. He's a really nice guy, great guy. And he's my friend. So I said, I'm going to go over and say hi to Jeremy, which I always do. When I'm in Vegas, I go say hi to him, but I never go in the bar. Never. Because, you know, not because of the patch thing. I don't wear a patch anymore. I could go in. But when I was a Hells Angels, she was like, you guys are never allowed in here. And I just didn't want to go in. So I'm standing there talking to Jeremy. My wife, Christina's standing there. I'm trying to think who else. Oh, then my friend Buddy and Lori from Milwaukee, they came up. And my friend Brad, who was my best man, and you know, he's been my friend since 9th grade. That's how long I've known him. And he came up to me, and then my daughter Brenda and her new husband Ryan. And then they came over. And I said, hey, Jeremy, can I go inside and get a water, man? And he goes, yeah, go ahead. And I said, man, that place is too crowded. He goes, come on. He walks us through there, all of us. Takes us to the VIP area, right? There's nobody in it. Yeah. We go in the VIP area, and I go over and I get water and stuff, and then we're standing there. I'm drinking the water, and Jeremy walks in. And he said, "It had to be somebody inside the club, Billy, that made the phone call." So he walks up to me and he goes, "Hey, we got some problems." I said, "What's up?" He goes, "There's 11 Mongols outside and they're waiting for you."
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, like, nobody even knew about this, right? This is the first time this is ever being told, even, you know what I mean, on a show or...
Yeah.
Except my personal friends that know about this and the people that were there. And I stood there and he says, "I know they're here waiting for you." And I asked the questions because here's how you can tell, you know, you set in the mode, you know, the mood for this whole incident that's going to happen again. I said, "I didn't hear any bikes pull up." And he goes, "Oh, they came in a van." I said, "How many of them?" 11. He says, "One says West Virginia, 5 say Nevada, and 5 say California." I said, "You got their patches on?" He said, "No, they're wearing soft colors. They're wearing T-shirts." But here's the key thing, Billy. They're wearing T-shirts. So that still keeps them out of the bar because they're wearing patches.
Yeah.
Now, if they would have been a little smarter than that, they would have just wore regular shirts and they could have walked in and we could have got it on right away.
Yeah.
But, you know, then they are who they are. So they're standing outside. I look at the door. I see this guy with his face, this fucking ugly fucker looks in, you know, his face is all tatted up. And he's looking at the tall guy. He walks away and Jeremy goes, "Yeah, man, what do you want to do, Pee-wee? I mean, this is going to be bad." I said, "Well, I guess I'll just walk out there and deal with it." And he goes, "Well, come on, man. They're not going to fight with you. They're going to stick you, shoot you or something." And I said, "You know, the saddest part about it is, man, paid like $1,000 for this goddamn tuxedo, and I hate to have any holes punched in it, you know?"
Yeah.
But I didn't believe, like, you know, that I was... It's up here in your brain, you know? It's just like, well, they ain't going to kill me. My wife starts crying, you know, "Oh, my God, here we go. Let's go out the back door. You got a back door here?" And Jeremy goes, "Yeah, I got a back door." And Brad goes, "I'll go get the car. I'll pull it around the back. You come out the back, and we'll be out of here." I go, "Hold on a minute. Hold on. I'm not a backdoor guy. I'm not going. I've never in my life hid from anybody. Even when I was a Hell's Angel and we were going to have confrontations, I was right up in front. I mean, front line. When I wore that tag, frontline crew, that's because what I was. So I said, "I'll deal with this." And my friends all, you know, "Well, we're going up there with you." And I said, "No." Because none of these guys were no bike clubs. They didn't even ride bikes.
It doesn't matter that you're not a member at this point.
No,
like,
I think matter. What it is, it's me. It's me. It's just me. I mean, leave me the fuck alone, man. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not going back to prison for a fist fight. If I'm going back to prison, man, I might as well just do the dirty deed right there and get it done. You get the same time for one as you do for five, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and, you know, I try to put that out there even with, when I hear these stories when outlaws are looking for me. What for? I'm out of the club. I've been out 14 years. Leave me the fuck alone. Somebody's going to get killed here, man. Yeah, it may be me. But I know for sure, man. I'm not gonna go to prison again for a fist fight. No way, man. So I told him I'm going out the door, and I don't want you guys coming with me. And my wife was getting a little more crazier. You know, you're going to do this. You know, you're going to go out there to prove you're a tough guy. You're going to get killed and all shit. I wasn't doing that to be a tough guy and shit, Billy. I was just being my fucking self, you know.
Yeah.
And I was seriously just gonna walk out and say to them, "What's up? What's up, dudes? You know, what's up, fellas? I mean, why do you have a beef with me? I've been out of the club 14 years. I don't have any beef with you. I don't give two shits about you. I don't give two shits about the Hells Angels, or I don't give a shit about anybody really, club-wise. So why? You know, if they turned around and started plunging me, you know what I mean? I got to be honest with you. I just told you, I'm in a tux. I didn't have a gun on me. I didn't have a knife on me. I didn't have nothing. So I said, well, I finished this water. I'm going to walk out there, you know. And I'm going to tell you, it was really weird because half the bar cleared out. The bar was packed. Half the bar cleared out. They could feel the tension with a knife. And then all of a sudden, those guys all walked past the door, and I seen them. And they went down to the corner to get a drink because, you know, they're standing out there. They had nothing to drink. So they're all thirsty. They went down to get a drink. And Jeremy comes in. Come on, dude. Come on, man. You know, I don't want to see nothing bad happen to you. And he had this black dude down there bouncing with him. Big dude. He was. I met him that night. I can't remember his name. Really cool dude. And this other big white guy. And he told me, hey, we'll help you if the fight breaks out at the door, but they can't go onto the public street and do it because then, you know, it's a lawsuit. So I said, oh, you know, okay. So it gives me more guys on my team, you know, but that isn't really what I was looking for, Billy. I wasn't looking for another, because, you know, on my paperwork, it said if I get in another fight in Las Vegas and I get charged with a felony battery, I'm doing 5 to 12 years on a small bitch.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Oh, bro, that's why I said, man, I might as well, when in doubt, pull it out, shoot it out, man, because I'm not gonna do 5 to 12 years for a fucking fight. I might as well pull it out and just start smoking it. You know, when they walked down in the corner, I still had that pride in me where I said, nah, I'm not gonna run out the fucking door. It was like, go, because right across the street was my hotel, bro. All you had to do was cross the street and you're right in the doors. I walked to the door and I gave the guy a hug at the door. I gave the big black guy a hug. You know what I mean? I said, hey, nice meeting you, man. Take care, bro. I give Jeremy a hug. And when I hug him, he says, will you get the fuck out of here? Because he didn't want to see it go down. And I just walked nonchalant across the street. You know, my wife's going, come on, could you walk any slower? I don't know if I was trying to like provoke it, but I just wanted to make it look like I wasn't running from nobody, you know what I mean? But,
yeah.
But I felt that way inside my inner guts. So yeah, it would have happened again at another wedding. Oh yeah. I thought that would be I would have never said that story to you if you wouldn't have asked me.
So they left. They were like,
oh no. Then they came back and then they looked inside and I was gone and I don't know what happened after that. I haven't talked to Jeremy, you know, so I think they probably came back, looked inside, said, son of a bitch, he darted, you know.
So they hold grudges regardless whether you're in the club, out of the club. Just because you're out of the club doesn't mean it's all squashed.
Right.
That's sad.
It is. It really is, bro, because I wrote this in my book. I said, hey, why do you want to fuck with me? I'm talking like, you know, angels, I don't talk shit about them. I don't say I hate them. You know, I regret it. Fuck those guys. I never say anything like that. I was happy being a Hell's Angel, and I was glad I did it. You know what I mean?
You're
But
just telling
that's
your
the old school.
experience.
Right, that's the old school Hell's Angels. The way they go now, I wouldn't want no part of it. The respect level that they get, and just the people now that they're taking in, and I'm glad I'm out. I'm thankful to God that I'm out. You know what I mean?
I heard a story. There was an old timer who was out of the club long time. He was old, and he was telling people that he was a Hell's Angel at one point. And these younger Hell's Angels caught wind that he was saying he was a Hell's Angel, and they came and beat the shit out of him. Did you see that?
Yeah, was that in Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the guy. One of the guys that was involved in that. I won't say his name, but he's out of prison now. He did like 18 years
For that?
not for that beating, for a murder that happened, and he took a plea bargain for aiding and abetting the murder. I think he got something like 10 to life or whatever the hell he got, or 15 years. I forget what it was. I think maybe he did 15 years, but he's out now, and he calls me all the time. I love him, man. He's like I said, bro, the baddest dudes. The baddest of the bad, I know, they're all out. I mean, out. And I'm talking like
what do you think?
Get down, this shit. They're all out of the club.
So what do you think
And
of
they're
them
all with
going
me.
after somebody who was a former member?
The what?
What do you think of that situation of them going after someone who was a former member who was just talking about it to people?
Well, I think it's pretty childish, you know what I mean? Unless the guy's talking shit, like Rick. When the first time I ever seen a podcast from Rick, he was a little wrong on shit, and all I did was reach out to him. And when he got a hold of me, I just said, "Well, that was wrong, this wrong," and then he checked it, and I talked to Rick. He's been to my house. Hey, he's been to my house and stuff, so he does do his homework. He tells me shit that I didn't even know, man. Like, with Squeak with a sealed letter to the judge. And he's still a Hell's Angel. Rick does his homework, and he says a lot of stuff. And everybody's like, I don't know how the club doesn't go after him, kill him. You know why? I think the club's feeding him a lot of that shit, too. A lot of they use him for a lot of, they'll call Rick and give him a little info here and there. So the propaganda keeps going.
Yeah, I don't get involved with the politics of it.
Right.
And, none of it.
I could care less. You know what I mean?
I'm just here to get your stories out there and share your stories with the world. I don't want to get involved with the politics. I've had people reach out, no comment, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody told me, "Hey, man, why don't you write another book?" I said, "Took me 15 years to write the one I did." That's why it's kind of all over the place, because I had to keep changing shit. I just don't have it in me to write another book. I wouldn't want to, I see like Sonny wrote all them books, and I'm not, throwing mud on Sonny, but I started reading some books. They were shit. They were garbage books,
Yeah.
And then, Chuck wrote that book, and I read like one or two chapters, and I was done with it, When Matt wrote the book, I read that in prison. I was in prison. I only read that because he put my name in there and naturally said some shit. That's what was the funniest part when they interviewed him on A&E. Yeah. He goes, "Well, PeeWee's a good guy, but he talks too much." I'm thinking, I talk too much. How about you fucking rat? You ratted on like 40 guys. So don't tell me I talk too much. Am I talking? I'm telling you a story. I ain't sitting there telling the story to a grand jury or, to the cops.
Like he did. He's one of the biggest cooperators in the history of the Hells Angels.
Right. And that's what really pissed me off on his part of the show when he says, "Oh, yeah, who better to send for his loyalty is PeeWee to go bomb a tattoo shop in Milwaukee." And that was totally bullshit. And that's why I said on the show, "Bullshit. Never sent me there. Never, ever were those words spoken out of his mouth." There was another guy in the club. I'm not even going to say the punk's name. He's dead. They threw him out of the club, and he died of a drug overdose. And they kicked him out because he was hanging out with a snitch. And he's the one that went and did it because he was bragging about it.
So
And
this really happened. What
yeah,
happened?
it really happened. But I wasn't the one who did it. This other jagoff did it. And what bothers me, Billy, is why would Pat throw me out there if he still didn't have any animosity toward me and say, well, I sent PeeWee to do it. Throw me under a bus for something I didn't even do when he could have said the real guy's name because he's dead.
Andy said you were the distributor of methamphetamine throughout the Midwest and shit, right?
I have never, ever sold not even a bump of that shit. You know what I mean? I could have got all the free meth I wanted. Believe me, it was around me all the time. Yeah, he said I was a Midwest distributor. And I sold my house to another guy in a different club. He bought my house under the table because, he didn't have a legit job. He was stealing,
Yeah.
So he paid me a big chunk of cash. And at the going away party, I told Pat all that. And would you believe it? It was in his paperwork when I got his paperwork. So I'm sitting there talking to him like I'm talking to you. I tell you, hey, Billy, I sold my house to Joe Blow right here. He gave me $50,000 down. He's making house payments, and we're doing it, under the sheets here, Nobody knows what's going on. I tell him that, and he fucking tells the cops that.
When did you find out Pat was a cooperator? And what were your thoughts?
I think he was cooperating. Before he even went into prison. Because I think I thought he was facing like 20, 25 years. Even in the feds, they gave him 17 years. He could have done the time. I mean, I went in for a goddamn fist fight, and I did 3 years, okay? And that pissed me off, but I did it. Do I boo-hoo? Do I say, the club put me in there? No. I put myself in there because I did what I had to do as a Hell's Angel.
Did they pay your legal fees?
Nope. They didn't pay any of it. They didn't pay anything. Again, like I said, I didn't go into prison. I didn't talk smack. I didn't talk any shit like that, People knew who I was and what I was, and I had a lot of people hanging around me, that I just draw people. That's what I'm trying to say. That's how I build my charters. I mean, when I joined the Sinners, there was only 10 guys, and 2 years I had it up to 26 guys. I split off with 6 guys from Las Vegas. The next thing I know, I got 12 guys. I have a personality that absorbs people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Pat kind of had that personality too, right?
Yeah.
But from my aspect, I think Pat was kind of like a bully, very manipulative.
He was. He would play you against me and me against you. And then he would step in the middle and say, Billy, let me talk to PeeWee. I'm going to straighten this shit out, okay? This is bullshit. You be all right, Pat. All right, Pat. Then he come to me.
Hero.
Yeah. Then he come to me. Hey, let me talk to you, man, about fucking Billy. See, now it's fucking Billy, and before it was, yeah. He'll say, listen, man, you guys got to squash this. You're both in the club, blah, blah, blah. Then hey, Billy, what's up? Hey, bro, we give each other a hug. And then you look at it. Pat's the fucking good guy. Pat put us back together, brother. And another prospect, Jimmy's the one who told me that. He said, don't you realize Pat's a genius the way he works people? And he is. He is. And I said in my book, I had no animosity toward him. And then he comes right out in that show and he says that shit. And he said some other shit too, because the A&E guys were saying, oh, he told us that you did this. And it was something I did. And I could bring it out and I could say it, but I don't want to. I already got busted for it. I mean, people went to prison for it. And it was something I did,
I was shocked when Pat said, oh, they told me have sex with the girl, whether she wants to or not. And I did.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Right.
That's wild.
They went through they were Grim Reapers, and they went through a lot. I know that, to become Hell's Angels, but Pat did run the state with an iron fist. He really did, bro. He kept the outlaws out. I went up there when I was a sinner, and I said, why don't you let me put a charter of sinners up here? You can get to know me more better, then maybe I can become what you are. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And he said, nah, we don't want any more clubs in the state. We got way too many now. So if you want to do what I am, just come up here and do it. So he basically rolled out the red carpet for me on that.
Don't you wish you would have went a different way, kind of? Like maybe started in a different charter than starting there?
Yeah. Like when I went to Frisco, San Francisco to prospect again the second time, there's no head games like that, bro. It was nothing. And there were so many charters of Hell's Angels in California, you know what I mean? Like every city had one. You could bound around and see 10 clubhouses, you know, like in one night. They didn't play no head games and shit. But I think what it was, Bill, was I lived in Wisconsin, and the move to Minnesota was like right over the state line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had a job lined up there through the Teamsters and shit, which I went right to driving truck and working. And when I went to San Francisco, there was no jobs. You know, I had my withdrawal card from the Teamsters. Man, I ended up doing is bouncing, you know, at a nightclub. And the guy paid me $25 cash an hour. So if I worked 4 hours, I made $100 that night, $125. He worked me 4 or 5 nights a week. But you still got to remember, it was San Francisco, and it's very expensive. It's like living in New York.
How long did you stay there, San Francisco?
2 years. 2 years, and I was going broke. And I told the guys, hey, I got to get out of here, or I'm going to end up having to leave the club. Bro, if I was making $500 a week cash, $2,000 a month, right? They gave me an apartment in the back. In the back, they had 4 apartments in the back. The clubhouse went from one side, one street, Tennessee, all the way over to the next street, which I can't even remember the name of the street anymore. But it had trolley car tracks on it and stuff. That's how far the clubhouse was. So they put me on the other side, and they said, hey, you know, because I went there to prospect on my own. I didn't bring my wife or anything because it was just too chaos there. And then once I made member, I sent for her right away when she came.
And they all came and moved with you?
Well, my kids were already grown up and on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, your wife came and moved with you.
Yeah, my wife came out there, and she actually had a nervous breakdown there because, Christ, she came there. She don't know anything about the city. And as soon as she got there, bro, I got busted on a beat in Wyoming for a guy that got his nose broke. And they took me back to Wyoming. And it was pretty funny because it was in the town of Belle Fourche. Did you ever hear of it?
No.
It's going to be kind of funny when I tell you this. Did you ever watch that movie, The Cowboys, with John Wayne?
Yeah.
Okay, the little boys are taking the cattle.
Yeah.
They were taking it to Belle Fourche. He said, let's get these cows to Belle Fourche. So I go in there. It's still an old town. The courthouse was the original courthouse from the 1800s. And I walked in there, bro, and I surrendered myself because they had a warrant out for me. And I surrendered myself, and I'm telling you, that dude had the cowboy hat. He had the vest with the badge on it. He had a gun holster on, just like Matt Dillon, you know, from Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and goes, you're a big man. I don't even think you're going to fit in I don't have a cell. All I got is a room to lock you in. And I said, well, I turned myself in. I mean, I'm just sitting here. Where am I going to go, you know? He goes, you know, I'm going to take you down to Deadwood. And I'm going to put you in the jail in Deadwood. Would you mind? Well, I mean, what was I going to say, bro? Yeah, fuck yeah, I mind.
Yeah, do I got a choice? Really?
Right. So I just said, yeah, let's do this, man. Let's do it. Now, see, the club would have said, oh, he's talking to a cop. You know, that's the asinine shit they say all the time. But, hey, when you get pulled over in a pack, do you think everybody just sits there on a bike and goes?
Yeah. There's videos of them talking to the cops.
Right. I want to see you guys' driver's license shit. Everybody just sits there. Fuck you. We ain't giving nothing. Bullshit. Somebody always talks. So from now on, the way they came down on me, the way they turned on me, I would love to be in the club just so when a cop pulls over for you being next to me, start talking, I look over and go, you rat. You're talking to cops. You know? That's how asinine they are. He says to me, he was super cool. We walk outside. It's an old police car, right? Where he's sitting in the back and he's got the little cage, you know, behind him. And he says to me, he reminded me of an old cowboy star, Slim Pickens. I don't know if you ever seen that guy.
Yeah.
He had the big gut, you know, and that's who he looked like. And he said, well, big feller, I could put you in the back in a set of handcuffs. It's pretty uncomfortable, but I'll let you sit up front if you be cool. I said, Daddy-o, I'm as cool as they get, man. Let's go. I just opened up the front door and I sat down in the seat, you know, like we were old friends. And he drove me there and we really didn't talk much. You know, he's just like, hey, I'm sorry I got to do this. And I said, hey, man, it's your job. You got to do what you got to do. And he said, well, I appreciate you coming and turning yourself in. And that's why I think he was giving me a break, you know?
Yeah.
They took me down. They booked me into Deadwood jail. And I got a bail bondsman. I posted my bond and I was out of there.
And you had to come back?
Yeah, I had to come back. I had to come back for court. I actually beat that. You know, I beat that one because it wasn't, I wouldn't say who it was. It was a guy from another club that punched this punk named Jimmy Jack that was running my shop, punched him in the face and broke his nose. I mean, broke it good. Right? Like right up here at the top, he snapped it with these sap gloves. He had a pair of sap gloves on. And when he hit him in the nose, bro, his nose turned it aside. The blood was like, pow.
That's the same guy that sued you and got all that money, right?
He didn't sue me. I was getting sued for all the people he ripped off because it was my shop. It was my shop right here.
Oh, so he worked for you. He worked for you?
Right here.
Yeah.
So he was working for me, and he sold one of my motors to two different guys, and then he ended up selling it to another guy. After these guys put $1,000 down, then he sold it $3,000 to another guy. So those two guys were suing me. And then he took all the parts in my shop to his house. And when I walked in the door, I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe how he was robbing me.
Did you guys have a beef? Was there a reason why all this transpired?
Billy, let me tell you something, man. I could be the baddest of the bad when I want to be, or if I have to be. But I could be the nicest son of a bitchin' guy you know, give you the shirt off my back. That guy had no job. I gave him a job. Are you ready for this? I told him, hey, man, I'll split all. You knew how to work on bikes. I said, you work on the bikes. You sell anything. I already paid for everything in the shop, so I owned it. I said, you sell anything in the shop, mark it down, because, you know, I had to pay taxes and shit like that. So I told him, we'll split it 60-40. You give me 40, I'm giving you 60 for running the shop and doing everything else. That way it pays my lights, my electric bills. So I wasn't really going to get rich off of it, but that's what I was doing for him. And he turns around and literally tries to stick it up my ass by robbing me. Come on, dude. You know who called me? It was a lady from the bank, from Wells Fargo Bank. She said, PeeWee, this guy running your shop is draining your bank account. It's empty. So I had to do something. When I got there, I walked in the door. I just pulled the shade down so you couldn't see in. And I was going to lock the door. But just as I was ready to lock it, I felt somebody turning the doorknob. I was like, what the hell? And I opened it up, and there was the two guys. One of the guys was the guy who bought my house. So they came in, and they said, I don't want to name the club, but they came in, and it's a 1% club. It's a big club. And they came in, and they said, hey, this son of a bitch ripped us off for $1,100 for a fender and a gas tank we ordered. He said, it's coming. It's still coming. He goes, we've been waiting like 9 months for it. So I think he took their money from the credit card and he just pissed their money away. And they weren't having it. And I didn't blame him one fucking bit, bro. So I seen the guy, and the guy's built like a brick shit house, and I seen the gloves on him. And I was trying to like keep that under control right now while I talked to the dickhead, right? So I said, and this is the thing that like set me over the edge. And I think it set them over the edge too, because that's when he lit them up. I said, hey, Jimmy, where the fuck is my motor? Evo. Now, you know the size of an Evo motor, man. We're talking like big Harley Davidson motor.
Yeah.
It was on an engine stand in the window. The engine stand was there, but there's no motor in it.
He took the motor?
Yeah, the motor's gone. He sold it. I paid $22.50 for that motor. I bought 10 of them. So I said, where's the motor, Jimmy? And this is what he did, bro. He starts looking on the ground like this. It's got to be here somewhere. I'm looking. He's looking under tables. We're talking about a fucking Harley Davidson motor. And he's looking around like, you know, like it's a nut or a bowl he dropped on the floor. So I'm standing, I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, you got to be fucking kidding me. You really think I'm going to stand here and keep watching this display of ignorance?
Let me help you look for it, right?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to help him look for it. But before I could do anything, the other guy steps in, pow, hits him with a right hook, right to the nose, breaks it, blood spitting out, and he drops to the ground, cracks his kneecap because he dropped so fast to his knees on the cement, he cracked one of his kneecaps. Well, when he's on the ground, the other guy who bought my house pulls out a 3-foot-long mag, one of those flashlights, those mag lights.
Yeah.
He's going to hit him on the head. I grab his wrist. I said, no, man, I'm trying to talk to the fucking dude. You know, I mean, he's already spitting blood out of his nose. I could imagine what the hit on the back of the head would have done to him.
That would have killed him.
Maybe. It would have saved me a lot of money, a lot of time. I would have just paid people up.
You have to crate them up, put them.
Oh, yeah, I would have just had to fire up the bandsaw and start sawing them up, you know?
Oh,
But that dirty bastard, he got me good. You know, in the long run, I had to pay him $10,000. I went to jail, got a felony out of it, and all why? Because I didn't take the witness stand. My lawyer said, you get out of this whole thing. All you got to do is get up. And I said, I won't do it.
And he wasn't in a club or nothing. He wasn't a club member.
He used to be a prospect for the Banditos. They kicked his ass out because they knew what a piece of shit he was. And they told me he was a piece of shit. I should have listened to him. But, yeah, you know, in the long run, all the money that it cost me, I wish the fuck we would have disposed of them, you know? Because, it really, really ended up costing me probably around $40,000 to get out of it. I had to pay those guys back. They were suing me for the motors. So I had to pay them back and more, you know, way more than what they put down for their court costs, their pain and suffering and all that shit.
And you couldn't even really go after this guy because you're in the club, and it kind of put you in a situation where what the hell are you supposed to do? Yeah,
I just had to do the right thing. That's all, you know what I mean? And so many times with shit like that, I almost wanted to say, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to close this shop. But you know why I didn't close it? Because I kept it open for the club. I made that the place to be. Come on, man. Out of one house on the upper floors, I had bunk beds built for 34 fucking members to sleep in that upstairs. 34 members.
So they would come and they would all sleep there during the runs.
And I would charge them $200 a person to stay there And somebody said, well, that's a lot. No, it ain't. That's a room, a bed, and 3 meals a day.
That's really
I would go out and spend $2,000 in food. And every night somebody, like, we're in a club, is like, hey, who's cooking tonight? Billy is. Billy Staxx is cooking. What are you cooking, Billy? Whatever you're good at, man. Spaghetti, meatballs. That's what we're eating tonight. That's what you're cooking, Billy. Me? I was a big meatloaf guy. I cooked, ready? 25 pounds of meatloaf. 25 pounds. Yeah. Guys come up, hey, there ain't no more left. And I'm only talking about 20, 25 guys, maybe.
Yeah, you guys are out there grilling and having a good
time.
Yeah,
and if you wanted a sandwich, there was a sandwich. If you wanted a soda, there's a soda. That's what I'm just saying. You know, I even had free hot dogs downstairs. I had a hot dog machine. And then the cops came in there one day, you know, the way they fuck with me all the time. And they said, do you have a vendor's permit? I said, I'm not selling hot dogs. I'm giving them away. So many times with shit like that, I almost wanted to say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to close the shop. But you know why I didn't close it? Because I kept it open for the club. I made that the place to be. Come on, man. Out of one house on the upper floors, I had bunk beds built for 34 fucking members to sleep in that upstairs. 34 members.
So they would come and they would all sleep there during the runs.
And I would charge them $200 a person to stay there. And somebody said, well, that's a lot. No, it ain't. That's a room, a bed, and 3 meals a day.
That's really
I would go out and spend $2,000 in food. And every night somebody, like, we're in a club, is like, hey, who's cooking tonight? Billy is. Billy Staxx is cooking. What are you cooking, Billy? Whatever you're good at, man. Spaghetti, meatballs. That's what we're eating tonight. That's what you're cooking, Billy. Me? I was a big meatloaf guy. I cooked, ready? 25 pounds of meatloaf. 25 pounds. Yeah. Guys come up, hey, there ain't no more left. And I'm only talking about 20, 25 guys, maybe.
Yeah, you guys are out there grilling and having a good time.
Yeah, and if you wanted a sandwich, there was a sandwich. If you wanted a soda, there's a soda. That's what I'm just saying. You know, I even had free hot dogs downstairs. I had a hot dog machine. And then the cops came in there one day, you know, the way they fuck with me all the time. And they said, do you have a vendor's permit? I said, I'm not selling hot dogs. I'm giving them away. Like, you come in the shop, I say, hey, have a hot dog. You hungry?
Yeah.
So why would I need a vendor's license? I'm giving them to you. What's the difference if I cook them on a fucking grill outside and hand them to you, or I got them on my little hot dog cooker? But yeah, they just came in to bust my balls, told me I couldn't use it without a vendor's license.
They do that to you a lot. They fuck with you a lot.
I made so much money in that shop before I became a Hell's Angel. 15, 18,000 I take home. After I became a member, my business went downhill. Downhill so bad, man. I'd be lucky if I left there with $5,000, Billy. I do 200 tires before I was a Hell's Angel on my tire machine. The last year I was in there, the last year I was open for business was 2010. When I quit,
yeah,
I sold, ready? 6 tires. 6.
Why? People not want to go there? Like, what was?
Yeah, they don't want to come there. They didn't want to go there because, you know, the club guys were all standing out in front. It's intimidating. You walk up at your old lady, you're like, well, let's go and see what kind of, man, I don't know, you know, 20 guys. You don't walk up there saying, excuse me. You know, somebody said something smart to them, or because I did have that happen. Where I was talking to a customer and I told him, hey, he's a good customer. Come back every year. I told him, hey, I'll have your bike done tomorrow. You just come get it. He says, thanks, PeeWee. I appreciate it. And I had this member walk over who's not in the club anymore. We beat him up and we threw him out, blacked out his shit. Oh, yeah, because he was a thief. He was a meth head. He always had the scabs all over his face. And he stole from a good friend of ours. We got him a job. and he rips the guy off. So we threw him out of the club. And then he went and joined another 1% club, and then they threw him out of that one too. So now he's just a fucking piece of shit like he is. But he was...
You had the guy who bought the motor or something, and what? He got into a fight with the guy?
No, I did work on the guy's bike, and then he walks up, all drunk, and he tells the customer I'm talking to, "You got a stupid hat on." And the guy looks at him, and he had a Hell's Angel hat on, the member. And he goes, "Well, you got a stupid hat on too." So, he squares hit him. I pushed him. I said, "Hey, there's a customer of mine. Back the fuck off. You're the one that started walking up here with this stupid hat thing. You got that coming. Now back off." Because he knew I would have lit him up right there. So he backs off. I tell the other guy, "Just come back tomorrow, bro. I'll have your shit ready. I'll have it ready for you." And he goes, "Okay, Pee-wee, thank you." I turn around. I maybe took 5-6 steps. I hear this. Yeah, I turn around, look, he's laying on the ground.
Oh.
Now, here's the thing. Cops are standing across the street. I swear to God, they're in the bushes. They were hiding in. I'm just I'm being a little, facetious, but they come running out from behind bushes, bro. I'm not bullshitting you. Like 20 cops. I'm like, what the fuck? And they chase him up the alley, and he takes off. And they caught him. Naturally, they caught him. He went in front of the judge. The judge gave him 30 days. I told his charter at that time, I'll say his charter, he was in Colorado, Denver. I told his charter, "Hey, when he gets out of jail, you tell him to come to Vegas, because he disrespected me in my shop by doing that to my customer. And me and him and I are going to do a little dance,
Yeah.
And they said, okay. And he got out, and he avoided me for 6 months, bro. He wouldn't even come see me. Finally, he went to New York, and New York guys loved me. And they wouldn't even talk to him. And he goes, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you guys treating me like shit?" And he said, "Hey, you're a fucking man. Go see Pee-wee and get this over with. You're avoiding him. You look weak." So calls me up. He goes, "Hey, man, I'm going to come talk to you." And I said, "Oh, now? You know what I mean? Come on, man. Now? If he would have came and talked to me right away, maybe I wouldn't have lit him up, bro. Maybe I told you I could be the bad of the bad if you want me to. And also I got a kind side to me,
Yeah.
But he made me wait. So now, the waiting game, nah, man, I got to fuck you up, So he gets on a plane. He comes to Vegas. We're in a bar. He says to me, "Hey, man, we really got to do this." And I said, "Yeah. You ready? Let's go outside." He goes, "Man, I really don't want to do this." And I said, "Well, I don't care. You ain't got a fucking choice. Either we're going to go outside or I'm going to do it right here." And we were in a bar full of people. Didn't want to really do it because of cameras and shit like that. So we went outside between the trucks, and man, I don't know what the hell held him up, man. I gave him a beating from hell, I mean, he had like big knots in his head where my knuckles were hitting his forehead. And I dropped him like 3-4 times, and I said, "Stay down, man." Like, the Hell's Angel thing, "Stay down." And all he had to say to me was, "I'm done." I would grab him, give him a hug, said, "We're done." I played it exactly the rules were. I was right on that track. So he finally, he got up. We're between two vehicles. And, I was kind of moving, doing my little move around thing. He was throwing haymakers, and I was like, ducking him. And then my back hit the back of this pickup truck. And when my back hit it, I couldn't move. And he came down, and he caught me right in the tip of my eye.
Yeah.
And I could feel like the corner of my eye right here, like growing out of my head, I could see it going over my eyeball a little bit. And I looked right into his face, and I see his face like, I got him. He was happy he got me. But what really freaked him out, all of a sudden I just stepped back and I went, "Ooh, good one. That was a good one." Then I put my hands together and went, okay, man, try these for size, right? Now he knows I'm really going to kick it up a step, you know?
Yeah.
And bing, 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 bing. I hit him with about a 4-puncher. He fell in the wheel well. He's laying over the tire. I told him, stop, man. Stop before I end up killing you. And, man, he turned around. His mouth was all full of blood. His eyes were fucked up. And he turned around and he said, oh, I'm done. I grabbed his hand, pulled him up, gave him a hug. I said, let's go in and have a beer. I'll buy you a beer. And he said, no, I'm just going to go to my motel room and lay down. A friend of mine, who's still a friend to this day, he runs a bike shop in Vegas. His name's Kenny. Kenny always fucked with him, you know, and Kenny would say, hey, what did it feel like getting hit from PeeWee, you know? And I said to him, why do you do that, bro? He fires him up every time he sees him. And I already kicked him out of the club. When he came to Vegas and he stole and we kicked him out, that's when Kenny was fucking with him. And Kenny goes, oh, it's so funny. He tells me every time you hit him, his whole body went fucking numb. And he wanted to fall to the ground and just lay there, but he couldn't, you know. He wanted to show face, you know. So I give him an attaboy for that. But I did give him a pounding, bro. But he gave me a black eye. That's 1 of 3 in my whole life. But that don't say much. That don't say much because my ex-wife gave me one.
Oh, so you had 3 black eyes in your life?
Only 3. Yeah, and my wife gave me one of them.
How'd your wife give you one?
We were arguing in high school in the car, and I bought her a pearl ring, and it was a big pearl ring on her finger. And we're driving along, and as we were driving along, I'm arguing with her. She threw this is how long ago this was. She pulled my tape deck out. It was on a slide rack underneath the old 8 tracks.
I remember those, yeah. Yeah, you used to take them with you, right?
Yeah, she pulled it out, threw it out the window. And I gave her like a little backhand, on her cheek, give her a little slap, and I said, I can't believe you did that. I think it was like $120 back then. It was like 1,000 to me.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, you dirty son of a bitch. You slapped me? I'm driving the car, bro. I'm driving like this. And she held up, pow, right in the side of my eye. And right in the corner of my eye, right where dickhead hit me, she caught me with that pearl ring right there. And, man, I could put my eye in. And next day I got up, I had like a half horseshoe around my eye, you know. So you can't really give a guy credit for giving me a black eye if she did that, you know.
It was worse when she did it, right?
Yeah.
Well, man, we'll do this again. You got a lot of stories, and keep it going for next time.
Right on, brother.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it, PeeWee.
Chatting with Staxx, bro. Keep it up.
If you guys like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, do fucking bad. Start your own podcast.
Right
Thanks,
on.
man.
Later, brother.